So let's go ahead and let's flip to Fight Song, which is source number 4. And that's the one that you guys chose to look at. Okay, but anyway. All right, so what we're going to do here, though, is we are close reading, okay? And close reading, what that means is that we're going to go over this a couple of times, and we're going to be kind of going in layers to figure it out. But we're also going to use our tools to kind of guide us. So you guys, you definitely want to write as we're going through this thing. You want to make sure to make your marks as they're appropriate to your thinking. But I'm just going to talk through mine while I'm up here. Okay?
Do we actually like similes and metaphors during the song?
Well, if you know that, then that's cool, right? And you can kind of add that into it. Like, yes, the songwriter is using a simile here, or the songwriter is using a metaphor here. Why are they using that particular metaphor? Maybe they're using it because blah, 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 right? So then you're kind of exploring your thinking, which is what we want to do.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. I promise I won't sing it, though. I'll just talk it through. So we have, like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. Like how a single word can make a heart open. I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. And I don't really care if nobody else believes, because I've still got a lot of fight left in me. Okay, so now going through here, and Casey's right. I'm noticing that there are a lot of metaphors. Why so many? Do they all suggest the same thing? And now I'm going to start going back through and I'm going to use some of my annotation marks here, and you guys are going to think that I sound crazy, but I'm just going to talk as I'm going through and making my marks. Okay, so I have this whole thing of the small boat, so I'm going to put a cloud around that. And then I'm going to add to it, because I think that's kind of a significant word in here, this boat part in particular, but then also small. So is she referring to herself? Why is she small? Does she feel not very important? And then on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. Wow. Okay, so with ocean and big waves, we have this extended metaphor going on, right? Because it doesn't just pop up once. But now, we've got this opposite word, right? We've got big. So we've got small to big. So it seems like, is she saying one little person can have a big impact? Or is, bless you, is she talking about a little action having a big reaction sometimes? I don't know. I'm going to have to go back through and think about it some more. So, like how a single word can make a heart open. For this, I'm actually going to do my little squiggly thing, my little arrow, because I have a connection that I'm going to add to that part. And I think this is true. Now, this is going to sound really dorky, okay? But when I was in 7th grade, I had a little boyfriend. Sort of, kind of, but we didn't really talk to each other. It was a thing where he wrote me a letter, and it was right at the end of 7th grade. And then he said, at the end of it, he said, "Love ya!" exclamation point, Pat. And I went, "Love ya." Wow. And so all summer I was stewing on that, and I was like, wow, love ya. And it's just like 2 tiny, silly little words, right? And he might have just meant it totally in passing as like a, okay, love you, that's great, nice to know you, whatever. But I took that very seriously. So I'm going to write down that whole thing about love you, Pat. And I'm such a big loser, I actually still have that note. I still have it in a box at home. Okay, so now I'm reminding myself, because I want to remember what is my purpose here? Why am I reading this particular source, right? And when I go back to the prompt, I am looking to find key traits that influential people share, right? So with this part here, this whole thing of screaming them loud, can you hear my voice? I'm thinking, is a trait that people share, influential people I mean, right? Is it having a voice, or is it making their voice heard? Right? So that's maybe possibly a trait, but I have to look at the other sources and kind of see what they suggest too. And then we have, this is my fight song, Take Back My Life song. So this whole thing about fighting. So, fight, are they kind of like naturally, are they fighters? Are they going for what's right? And my power's turned on, starting right now, I'll be strong. And I'm going to cloud around the word strong too, and I'm thinking strong alone? Like, is she willing to stand alone? Is that another trait, potentially? I'll play my fight song, and I don't really care if nobody else believes. And so that kind of reinforces the idea of what I was saying about the word strong. She's doing it alone. She's willing to stand on her own, because I've still got a lot of fight left in me. So it also seems like maybe resilience or something like that. Okay, and then when I go back over this thing again, and I'm kind of looking at the different marks that I made here, and I'm thinking about, are there traits that kind of stand out? I'm thinking a big part of this particular source is the use of metaphors. And then I'm also thinking that maybe having a strong voice or being willing to speak up. That might be one, based on this source anyway. I got to make sure that the other ones kind of check out so that I can see if there's any common links. And then maybe this whole thing about being willing to go it alone. And then also resilience. I think there might be another one in there, but I don't see it. Oh, a sense of what's right. So kind of like a keen sense of morality, right? Or something like that. Okay? So what I'd like you guys to do now is I would like you to go ahead and skim through the sources in the packet and be thinking about the fact that we're looking for key traits that influential people share, right? So as you skim through, kind of keep that in mind. Is this source going to help me to answer that question? What do I think? Is this source potentially going to help me to answer that question? I know something about Abraham Lincoln. I think he was a pretty resolute kind of guy and that kind of stuff, man of powerful words. Maybe I'll take a look at that one. And if that's one that I'm going to choose to do on my own, I might put a little star next to it or something like that. And then move through the rest of the packet and go, yeah, Emma Watson. I think looking at this and looking at the title, Inclusive Inspiration. And there she is, standing at the podium. All right, I think I want to read that one. And then it's a toss-up. I do love the I Have a Dream speech, I can't help it. So I'm going to choose that one. But I want you guys to go through and choose 3 other sources that you want to do on your own. But skim through them and kind of think about which ones do you think are going to help you to answer the question.